vast open landscape of Iowa. This state has trailblazed the United States agricultural system for the last century, and the procedures followed here are seemingly used in every other agricultural state in America. However, this is not about the appraisal of this system at all. In fact, it is about the current issues and flaws that we are now realizing are dug into the United States agricultural system. And at the end, I'm going to try my best to reveal to you some resolving solutions to the problems that I'm going to show you. The United States significantly lags behind the other first world countries in the precautions being taken on the mass use of toxic pests and herbicides. Our allies across the ocean at the European Union have taken the most effective steps in the banning of these toxic cosmetic and agricultural chemicals. The countries who are within the EU are known around the globe for their sustainable ethics and active involvement in the environment. Within the past 40 years, the EU has banned the largest variety of these poisonous compounds. However, one of the most compelling pieces of information that I've come upon while researching this topic is that Germany, a country in the European Union, actually leads the world in global production and sale of pest and herbicides, holding 3 of the top 5 manufacturers based in their country alone. Bayer, which holds the number 1 position, BASF, which holds the number 3 position, and Monsanto, the number 5, which was recently bought out by Bayer, the number 1 position, for $66 billion. Currently, Germany is controlling 40% of this global market in agricultural chemicals. Now here is the important part. It's that the country with nearly 40% of this multi-billion-dollar industry coincidentally happens to have the strictest regulations and bans on the use of these chemical compounds that they are producing. They are very aware of these chemicals' harms and effects, and they are at the forefront of the operation. On the contrary, this country has seen an opportunity to generate vast amounts of revenue, in this case, billions, by producing and selling these toxic products to other countries, rather than using them and spraying them on their own land, effectively poisoning everything. Now I have a list of 5 extremely toxic chemical compounds that are frequently sprayed in the United States for cosmetic and agricultural use, and all of these chemicals on the list have been banned in other developed countries around the world for their scientifically proven environmental damage and harm to living organisms, and we are beginning with the chemical compound atrazine. Now this herbicide is one of the most commonly sprayed in fields of corn by agriculture in the US. Produced by Syngenta, a company based in Switzerland, this chemical can be found in almost 90% of the United States drinking water, linked to deteriorating immune systems, causing birth defects in babies, and disrupting women's hormones. In 2009, 43 water authorities alone sued Syngenta for spiked levels of atrazine in communities' water supply. This chemical has been effectively banned in the European Union since 2004. 2004! The United States is really out of the fucking loop! Now there's a couple of these things that I cannot pronounce, and this is one of them. But it looks like it says neon nicotinoid. I'm gonna put it on the screen so you can see it and read it yourself, but all you need to know is it's fucking poisonous! Anyways, neon nicotinoids. This chemical compound, developed by Bayer, a pesticide that has heavily affected bees' ability to pollinate, and has effectively led to the death of millions of bees in Germany. And the EU banned this substance in 2003. Glyphosate being the next chemical compound, being one of the main components in the best-selling cosmetic herbicide in the US, Roundup, which is produced by Monsanto, now being a Bayer product, glyphosate has been linked to various forms of cancer and kidney failure internationally. There are over 750 products sold in the United States with this chemical in it. Canada, Brazil, and the Netherlands are currently making moves to ban this chemical. The next compound being dichlorofene. I can't fucking say it, okay? Look at it on the screen. Read it your fucking self. Dichlorofene, another herbicide, is most heavily used in the state of California, linked to causing cancer, and made in 1954, The EU has effectively been phasing this out of use since 2007. Now, perhaps one of the most disturbing and toxic compounds sold in the US today is one called paraquat. One of the most toxic herbicides available in the US, it has been offered and sold here since 1961. This extremely toxic compound can cause a variety of different health issues, linked to causing liver failure, kidney failure, heart failure, seizures, comas, and lung scarrings. This compound has had an EU ban since 2007, and even China, who is the only country who beats the US in yearly consumption of pesticides, had to ban this chemical, due to a tragic trend of too many citizens committing suicide with it. Due to its high toxicity, many citizens seeking to off themselves would drink paraquat to a lethal dosage.
Well, paraquat, which is banned in Switzerland, is being produced by Syngenta for selling it to the developing countries, where workers are being exposed, they are poisoned, and many have also died as a result of paraquat, which is one of the most highly hazardous pesticide. There is no antidote.
மொதன்னைக்கு மழை பெஞ்சிச்சு நாங்கள் வேலைக்கு போனோம் பம்மு தோல் வச்சுட்டு மருந்தடிக்கு போய்கிட்டே இருந்தோம் வலிக்கு கீழ் லேன்ஸ் குத்தி கண்ணில் மருந்து போட்டு.
Now, in comparison, all of these herb and pesticides hold similar things in common, including that they dissolve in water, so when rainfall washes the land, these chemicals are carried from the crops that they are sprayed on into the soil, where they are absorbed. Here, it may breach groundwater supplies, and once groundwater is tainted with pollutants, the water is extremely difficult to be restored back to purity. These contaminants are also washed into irrigation ditches that are linked to natural bodies of water, where the pest and herbicide-filled water is then funneled to streams, and then our rivers, and then our oceans. These chemicals make the water highly acidic, removing entire aquatic habitats from the environment and killing high amounts of fish, plants, and animals. These compounds also evaporate into the air from the hot sun and precipitation and become a part of our atmosphere, where humans and all organisms breathe in this air. Countless health issues stem from these pollutants being sprayed in the United States, from all forms of cancer to kidney failure to birth defects. These chemicals, through the air, water, or through direct contact, absorb through the skin of all living organisms. The overall consequences of these compounds vastly surpass the benefits. Perhaps these chemicals increase the yield on crops, but also they are seemingly poisoning everything on our planet, from our drinking water, to our land, to our air, to our very bodies. Now, this is only 5 compounds that I've brought the light to on a list of over 100,000 synthetic compounds that are commonly used throughout industrialized nations. These compounds include solvents, chlorine, herbicides, pesticides, and road salts. These synthetic compounds harm the environment by their toxic effects on organic compounds. This is a worldwide phenomenon, but the United States of America is one of the leaders in the front of this charge, and one of the top consumers of these poisons in the world. Land and soil erosion. This is the next topic that I shall be discussing, and how the United States agricultural system actually enables this phenomenon. Yes, it is true. Our food production system has been designed for the benefit of the human race, and it does it astoundingly well. But it is only benefiting us, and us alone. Through the excessive development and tilling of farmland, mass development of industrialization, large-scale animal farming, and the dramatic loss in biodiversity, these practices are all occurring in an unsustainable scale and are damaging the very land and soil of the United States nationwide, and the very ground that we are growing and harvesting our produce from is losing its notorious nutritional properties. making it more susceptible to land erosion, desertification, and wind damage. This is all due to the severely artificial environment that we, the human race, have constructed for our agricultural system. Now, for the soil formation process, a very crucial piece of the puzzle is having a very healthy ecosystem, and in order for the truly prime soil to form, it requires just the correct amount of sunlight and moisture exposure, as well as the frequent decomposition of a large variety of plants and animals. Now, this issue is not widely enough recognized, but from the lack of native vegetation growing in our ecosystem, the soil formation process is suffering, and what used to be native lush prairie is now barren, single-crop fields. And from this major transformation, the world as we know it is now changing, and not for the better. We, for the purpose of agriculture, have deprived the land of all different kinds of natural organisms from the mass development of the land, and therefore has coincided the loss of their natural benefits. Now, undeveloped, native bodies of land provide much needed services, such as natural flood control by increasing the succulence of the land. It as well provides natural wind protection, with natural barriers such as trees, bushes, shrubs, and large varieties of prairie grass. Natural ecosystems also provide pest control from the native pest-eating organisms that take refuge in these ecosystems, such as bats, birds, and other pest-eating insects. They as well as provide the production and then protection of high-quality soils by the native vegetation providing root systems that then hold this soil together. But from the U.S., developing these diverse native ecosystems into farmland in an unsustainable fashion, we have heavily increased the amount of land and soil erosion taking place in the United States of America. And there continues to be a rapid increase in all of the following practices that stem this issue. Now, some specific practices that are causing and enabling the land and soil erosion include the major industrialization of agriculture, which has led to the excessive development of the ecosystem and the increase of all types of erosion. This is because of the frequent practices of using heavy machinery to till and maintain the land, as well as the wide-scale single-crop farming technique. Another enabling practice includes the construction of irrigation ditches, which are unnatural, man-dug trenches that interlink fields to bodies of water, which leads to unnatural flooding and wide-scale damage to the ecosystem. Also, large-scale animal farming influences the erosion of land near the banks and creeks of rivers, as well as the loss of biodiversity from the frequent grazing and the roaming of the livestock in a single large plot of fenced-off land. Another factor is wind erosion. This is damaging and displacing soil due to the lack of natural barriers, like trees, shrubs, and grasses that protect and bind the soil together. When these natural species are deprived from the land, it becomes more exposed to the hot sun and the vicious winds of the harsh winter storms, which all effectively cause harmful damages to our soil every year. And the final, but yet the most important factors, include the small yearly returns of newly formed soil due to the major loss of biodiversity in our ecosystem. And finally, the wide-scale reliance on solely the agricultural system to provide us our food, which is requiring the large-scale agriculture that we see today. If every individual family attempted to grow some of their own food, the large-scale agricultural system would not be necessary.
D'une certaine façon de mettre le potager en façade, mais on sentait qu'il y avait sûrement une façon de le faire qui c'est absolument esthétique. On a pensé pratique, puis ça s'est avéré esthétique. On voulait pas...
La saison de culture qu'on sauvait environ 1500 $. Michel a perdu énormément de poids, il a perdu 75 livres.
Qui En plus, là, 2 ans, on ne connaissait rien d'agriculture urbaine. Tu sais, on montre que c'est facile, ça apporte pour tout le monde. Puis, ben, let's go. Il s'agit juste de se relever les manches puis de choisir de le faire pour faire comprendre aux gens qu'il y a des choses à changer. Il faut juste leur donner les exemples, les outils, puis faire un peu d'éducation.
Luckily, we are not too late, and there lie sustainable solutions to these environmental problems. But time is running out, and if we have any hope in reaching a sustainable model, we must implement a wide variety of new practices into our agricultural world, and we have a very short decade to do so. We need to alter our current strategy of developing land solely for human use, and we must begin to formulate a process that enables all organisms to coexist together, for it is clear that all species of the land are necessary for a thriving ecosystem, and the truth is, from the environmental damages that we have caused, no thriving ecosystem exists here. Now this can change. But in order to reach this model, all individuals must take place. To the consumers, to the farmers, we must all assist in these necessary practices needed to reach sustainability, and it begins with the support of local agriculture. Citizens relying on a more localized farming regimen would result in the very beneficial decrease of large-scale agricultural dependency and the use of home-developed greenhouses, home gardens, or community-developed gardens, or even purchasing produce from a local farmer's market would all assist in this sustainable transition. Farmers may also contribute by developing their land to counteract the issues of land erosion and soil degradation by the use of shelter belts and strip cropping. Shelter belts are when farmers, rather than building fences around their fields, grow walls of trees around their field that then protects their land from the vicious winds and provide natural services to the land. Shelter belts also provide natural biodiversity, higher soil quality, wind protection, and natural pesticides by growing habitats for insect-eating organisms. Strip cropping involves growing multiple plants in a single field in a row formation. Doing so assists in increasing the biodiversity of the land and higher quality soil formation. Strip cropping also leads to higher yields of diverse produce and the decrease of insect infiltration. The development of green belts outside of cities and towns are also substantially important to reach this model. Green belts are large areas of natural land that are preserved or grown for their natural services that they provide, such as natural flood control, high-quality soil formation, and the major increase of biodiversity. With the development of human infrastructure, along has come the major decrease in natural ecosystems and the loss of their crucial services. Growing and developing natural land, such as greenbelts, are one of the most efficient and sustainable developments that we can use to restore these natural services. Now, nothing is possible without our planet, and our modern civilization of today undergoes countless varieties of harmful practices that damage and destroy our natural world. We take for granted our Earth. We reap its benefits while giving nearly nothing in return, and this is featured in not only our agricultural system, but in all human systems. In order to implement a truly impactful change, all must rise to the occasion, and the current game that we are playing must be flipped on its head and left behind. This is the truth, and this is now. And in order for something to be created, something old must come to pass. And this is what the human race must endure, a dramatic change, so that all species on this planet may all continue to grow and live together in harmony as one.